the latest update brought a lot of new mods that have people scratching their heads on where they should use them, since the benefits are cool, but the trade-offs can be kind of scary. And if you watched my last two videos, you already know how great they are on Ultimate Freyna and Bunny, but this time I'm not going to talk about one, but two characters that benefit from the new mods to great effect, Kyle and Esiemo. And as usual, anyone telling you to run crit on these characters after the update hasn't the slightest idea on how to do the math on this. I will not be going into detail on the function of every single one of their abilities, as I want this video to be short and I'm tired of repeating myself. So if you're a new viewer and want to know how these guys actually work, including all their bugs and quirks, please go watch the videos I list on screen, because this video is purely to talk about the new build options compared to before and why they are better. But let's talk about what we're using as well as why we're using it, starting with Esiemo. And what's great about him is this is both the dungeon and the boss build, though there are some mod swaps in either case that will make life easier. For general survivability, we're running increased HP, HP amp, and then spear and shield. HP amp can be swapped out on either build depending on your own preference, like say range for dungeons or fire sensation for bosses to eke out a hair more damage. Boosting our damage with power ratio bonuses, spear and shield ties in again, and then we're using focus on fire, dangerous ambush, and then the new fire amplification mod, at the cost of completely fucking over our crit resistance, but that is a price we are very much willing to pay, and we will talk about why later. Continuing on damage with skill power modifiers, we take focus on tech along with the new tech amplification mod. We take MP conversion along with nimble fingers, and paired with the cooldown from the two focus mods, we land at a cooldown reduction of 74.3%, which is great, because we want to be able to refresh as many bombs as we can lay down when blowing the boss off the face of the planet. For our ability augment, I still prefer explosive evade on bossing for the sake of laying down mines faster, but you can still get away with creative explosion if you're into kinky shit like that, and as you'll recall in the last Esiemo vid, we discussed how explosion doesn't get the skill power boost buff anymore, but it does have a higher per bomb scaling on blast. So just take whichever you find better, but creative explosion would be better for the mobbing and dungeon build for the sake of running through and just blowing up the map on a very short cooldown. In the dungeon build, you can also swap ambush for MP collector to make it so you don't run into MP issues when committing genocide, and you can also drop nimble for any mod of your choice, since the narcissism buff from creative explosion will have you at the cooldown cap and it's no longer needed. Now for Kyle. For general survivability and also for bomb fuel, we're running increased shield, HP conversion shield variant, stim accelerant, and then overwhelming shield. That may sound like a lot, but recall that superconductive bombing now has a fixed cost per set of bombs dropped instead of the percent cost that it used to be, which means that we can't get away with only running cost mods, and all the extra shields are necessary to boost our total magnetic force pool. For skill power ratios, we're slotting non-attribute specialist, dangerous ambush, and then the new non-attribute amplification. Then on skill power modifiers, we are only slotting focus on tech. We don't actually have room for tech amplification, as it would be a damage loss if we took it here. Some of you might be lost on that, but in order to bring tech amp, we would need to drop one of our other mods, and at this point the only options are skill expansion, which we need because the bomb explosion radius is small. Without range, you're going to miss most of your hits, if not all of them. Then we have skill extension, which extends our flight time and gives us more time to drop more bombs with our expanded fuel pool. Or we can replace one of the HP or shield mods, and I can promise you I already looked at a shitload of different combinations, and this is the best option for what we have right now. I will say though, there are actually quite a few different versions. You can swap out some shield mods for skill cost instead, but all the different build variants are going to end up with pretty much the exact same damage, and none of them are going to go beyond 120 bomb count. I personally went with the mods we have right now because this allows us to not only get the best damage, but also still reach the 120 bomb count and have a lot more shields to be more tanky just in case it is ever needed. For our ability augment, it does need to be superconductive bombing, and I fucking love this mod. It used to suck because it was bugged and then nobody noticed it was bugged, so I pointed it out and then it got fixed, and it made Kyle better than even Lepic in terms of total damage potential. On the weapon, both of them want Secret Garden, which is a weapon that gives a skill power buff when using a tech skill, and since both of them have access to low cooldown tech skills, it's just a huge net positive no matter which way you swing it. The mods on it don't matter, as unlike unique weapon abilities, there are no weapon mods that would boost the skill. Only the Garden ability buff will help you here. For reactors, you basically want the same thing on both of them. Kyle wants a non-attribute tech reactor, Esiemo wants a fire tech reactor, then both of them want the weapon to be Garden, of course, like we just said, with subs as skill attack against Colossus, and then a tech power ratio. The Colossus attack is the most important role, so don't stress it if that is the only role you get. It is totally fine. Components on both of them need to be the Slayer set. There's just no escaping it. It's too fucking good. The base power ratio bonus provided beats out any other shield benefits for Kyle, and for Esiemo, there's not even another choice. But for your subs, on Esiemo, the sensor needs to be max MP and MP in combat, and both of them want HP on the auxiliary and shield on the processor. But Kyle doesn't actually have MP, so wherever there's an MP-related role, try to get a shield or resistance role instead. Now for the meat. Crit or nah? And holy fuck, the answer is no. Like, guys, it's not even close on these two. Crit is so bad in comparison to the new mods. Esiemo gets a nice damage increase, but on Kyle, it's not even funny, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But what you see on screen right now is a crit build for Esiemo using a Secret Garden Tech Colossus reactor. If we just look at Time Bomb and assume that we have 8 bombs out, then a spread of 8 bombs on Devourer with his DR and crit resist factors in comes out to an average total damage for the full spread of 6.9 million. Also note that the build has 0 HP because literally every slot we have here is needed for the damage to take place. But now let's take a look at the critless build, and under the same conditions we get a spread of 7.5 million with a damage per bomb, and it's not even averaged, of 936,000 over the 627,000 that we had before. Over the full damage spread, we're getting an 8% damage increase, and that damage is now guaranteed. There is no chance to whiff your crits. It's just gonna fucking nuke them. On top of that, because we open up 2 more mod slots, we're able to slot HP now and take this build to other boss fights that aren't solo without exploding when a stiff breeze comes by. Crit is dead for Esiemo, but it gets so much better for Kyle. Once again, shown on screen is a breakdown with a Kyle crit bomber build using a Secret Garden Colossus Tech reactor. With these mods, bombing will drop a total of 84 bombs, with an average damage spread over the full duration of about 30 million damage. But holy shit, if you look at the critless build, we're now rocking 120 bombs dropped, where all the bombs are doing more damage than before, and our total damage spread pops up to 46.5 million. Why is it so different? I'd alluded in prior videos to the fact that some characters with the new critless mods only taking up 2 slots and leaving 2 open could increase the damage on those characters by around 40%, and this is what I meant. Because we don't need to run all 4 crit mods anymore. We get space for 2 more, technically 3 more, because we're not actually going to take tech amplification this time. And in that free space, we take focus on tech, skill extension, and overwhelming shield. And paired with the fact that we swap out maximize conservation from the old build to stim accelerant now, we not only get the 120 bombs advertised, but we get more shield to be more tanky, like we said at the start of the video. Kyle, straight up, cannot stop winning, guys. Like, what the fuck? They just keep buffing him. Indirectly or directly, it doesn't matter. He is ridiculous now. And genuinely, these new mods are the greatest thing to happen to this game so far. I hope you guys have fun running these two and nuking everything into oblivion. Hopefully everything here made sense. I tried to condense the shit out of everything instead of making 2 videos for these guys again. But if you have questions, just ask down below after watching the older video for either of them, as those videos will most likely answer whatever questions you have about their functionality without you needing to get a response from me.